I'm going to show you in the next 5 minutes why you should consider changing your asset allocation, because I find most people are doing it wrong, and it's really, really easy. Now, I'm going to do this through a quick story, and then I'm going to show you an example of a case study. I'm going to start by showing you the case study so you can see what we're talking about today. You can see this couple has $1.6 million in their traditional 401k, $100,000 in a Roth IRA, and $350,000 in an inherited IRA. Now, if you're going, I don't have $2 million, will this not apply to me? No, it will still apply to you. You can use the same logic whether you have $10,000 or $10 million. So here's the quick story, and then I'm going to show you that example in more detail. Now, this is a true story, but someone came to me once and they said, Ari, you're going to be scared. I'm 83 years old with 100% in equities. I said, I don't get scared that easily. You're right. That does seem a bit heavy considering you are 83 from an equity exposure component, but I don't know enough about you. Tell me more. And he told me that he currently spends $6,000 a month. And I said, beautiful. How much is coming in from your pension? Now, some of you are thinking, I don't have a pension. You could replace a pension with a larger portfolio or inheritance or real estate. Doesn't have to be a pension. In this example, he wanted to spend $6,000 a month and his pension was bringing in $7,500 a month. So I said, okay, if your $3 million separate from your pension went to zero, you would likely not be very happy, but you would be okay. Do I have that right? And he said, that's correct. He said the logic for why he has 100% equities, despite being 83 years old, is because if his portfolio fluctuates, it doesn't impact his day-to-day living. He wants to spend $6,000 a month. $7,500 is coming in no matter what. Now, what's the point of the story? Well, the point of the story is you need to make sure that your portfolio can support how much income you need. If this person wanted to spend $10,000 a month instead of $6,000, that's a $2,500 difference that needs to come from somewhere, likely his portfolio. So his portfolio would need to make sure it could support that, which means 100% equities would be way too risky. He would have to possibly sell something when markets are down, which we don't want to do. So let me show you an example so you get really clear as to why I love this stuff and why it makes a big difference to your retirement. If not, I would not waste your time on this. So really, really important. The reason that I go through any of this and why I get to do these videos is because of my amazing team that has me always pull up this important disclosure document. So please know, what I'm about to show you, this is not creating an advisory relationship with Root Financial. Please read this disclosure. I just put my left finger up, but really my right finger. Just kidding. Back to the left finger is the right one. Normally I have my editor that helps, but I wanted to get this video out and I wanted to do it in a timely manner. So you can see here, these investment strategies may not be suitable for everyone. Please make sure to check this out. If you have any questions, read this. So we're going to get back to the video. I'm going to remove that disclosure, despite how exciting that was. So this is what I'm going to walk you through. This is so basic when it comes to planning. What most people do wrong is really simple to fix. Now, sometimes I'll show a client something or all of you something, and they go, hey, that's going to be a big change. We're going to do a Roth conversion. We need to manipulate our income, but that changes our healthcare. Which account do we pull from? So should I switch my traditional 401k to a Roth? What's the right time? That is not what I'm telling you today. What I'm going to tell you might allow you to go into your 401k, make a few clicks, and legitimately change a large portion of how much income you could create in retirement. Now, if you don't already know, my name is Ari Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner, host of the Early Retirement Podcast, and I love helping people retire early, like many of you want to. So we're going to go through this. This is a powerful tool. If you want to use this tool, it is in the description of this video, so you can go build whatever you want with exactly what I'm showing you today. So here's the first thing I want to know is how are they invested? This is going to tie into the asset allocation. So first thing I can see on a $1.6 million portfolio, he has 90% in equities and 10% in fixed income. My gut looks at that and goes, okay, that's probably an account we're going to want to pull from before a Roth IRA. So we're probably going to want to have that be less risky because a Roth IRA, for example, you can see his Roth IRA has less equities, 60% equities, 40% fixed income. Generally, you want your Roth IRA, assuming you're comfortable with the volatility, of course, to be 100% equities because this is the last account you're going to touch. Now, you can see he has 40% fixed income. I don't know why he has that, but he does. And then the inherited account here, you can see this $350,000 is in a balanced portfolio, 50% equities, 50% fixed income. But here's where this gets interesting. So under this investment tab, there's a lot. We can look at risk metrics, sector, style, concentration, holdings. We can go really deep. What I want to show you is this right here. This is his asset allocation across all of his accounts. So as a whole, he's 82% equities, 18% fixed income. Why is that? Well, the majority of his money, 1.6 million, is in his 401k. And because that's invested 90% equities, that's why it's so heavily skewing towards equities. What you can see here is this makes it really easy to look at each account. So the traditional 401k, 90% equities, 10% fixed income. Roth IRA, 60-40, inherited IRA, 50-50. This is not optimal. Why is this not optimal? The reason it's not optimal, I'll let you guys guess in the comments, which makes my job fun. So please humor me because I like getting to see it. Is which account do you guys think he's going to pull from first? Well, the inherited IRA, all inherited accounts have different rules depending on when you actually inherit the account, but this one needs to actually be withdrawn within the next 10 years. So we're probably going to be pulling from this because this has specific rules. It impacts tax implications in a big way. So this is probably the account that we want the safest. Now, here's the good news. It is the safest out of all of the accounts. It's 50-50. Is it optimal? No, but it is the quote unquote safest as of now. When I say safest, all I'm saying is short term. It has the most fixed income, cash, safe assets. Once again, cautious on the word safe because when I hear safe, I think of stocks because that's what's going to outpace inflation. Everyone has a different definition. Roth IRA, this is not optimal. This should be 100% equities, in my opinion. He's not going to touch this for a long time. And that traditional 401k, that probably shouldn't be 90% equities. So how do you actually do this? Well, that's what I'm going to tell you today, and I'm going to show it to you in a really simple way. Here's the first thing I want you to do. We're going to keep it simple. Let's pretend this $2 million account, I almost said $2 million person, but you can't put a number on a person, okay, guys? We're all worthless, priceless. I was seeing another meme I just thought of recently where someone was like, I'm priceless. And then someone came in and said, or you're worthless. And I went, that's dark humor, but I still did laugh, to be honest. So no one's worthless. I'm just being, loose with you guys. And I try to keep these videos fun or entertaining so you don't fall asleep on me. Okay, so pretend you have $2 million. And you want to spend $100,000 a year. That's your goal, okay? Well, if there's no other income coming in, don't count dividends or interest. Don't get too complicated on me. $2 million, you want to spend $100,000 a year. Okay, well, how much safe money should we have? Generally, if we look at markets, it takes about 2 to 2.5 years for markets to fully recover. You didn't make money, but you fully recovered. So we like to double that here at Root. And we have something called Root Reserves, which means if we double 2 years or $200,000 to 4 years or $400,000, that's telling us how much safe money we need. So check this out. This is an internal document, so you guys don't have access to this, but you can see this is called a portfolio design template. So check this out. It's really cool. Now I think all this stuff's really cool, but I'm a nerd like that. So $2 million portfolio. What is his primary account that he's going to be pulling most of his retirement from? His 401k. You can see we can make it a brokerage or inherited account, whatever. But he has $400,000 in other accounts, Roth IRA, inherited. 1.6 is in his 401k. Stick with me here, okay? How much safe money does he need to last the next 5 years? Well, if he wants to spend $100,000 a year, theoretically, $100,000 a year times 5 years, I'd want this closer to 500,000 just to be super, super safe, okay? So what I'm saying here is let's pretend markets do really poorly and he gets unlucky. He doesn't want to have to worry, can I still travel? Can I enjoy my retirement? So here's 500,000 in what I'm going to call super safe assets. Some of you are going to go, I don't need 5 years worth of safe assets. How about 4 years? That's plenty for me. Awesome. 2.5 years, 2 years, that's kind of the minimum. 5 years is kind of the maximum. So I'm going in the middle there, 400,000 of what we call Root Reserves. Now, as a percent of the total portfolio, stick with me here, guys, please. 20% or 400,000. Why am I getting that number? Why am I pulling this? What's 20% of 2 million? That's $400,000, which means I need that to be readily available in some safe asset if we need to pull income from. Which account is that going to come from? That's going to come from the 401k. So you can see here, 20% of 2 million is 400,000. But what's the value of the primary withdrawal account where we're really going to be pulling income from? It's this account right here. So really it's not 20%, it's 25% of the primary account. So 400,000, that's a number that we're not pulling from 2 million, but from the 1.6, which means 25% of this account needs to be super, super safe. So if we need to, we can pull from it. This is why I want that Roth IRA 100% equities. I want that growing like crazy. That inherited account, well, I'll do a deeper video on this, but I would want to go into more detail to show you why that's an account we might want to pull from as well. I'm just trying to keep this simple for you for now. So how much do we need in what's called root reserves, safe money? 400,000. Now the reality is there's going to be dividends, there's going to be interest, you might have a rental property or social security. We got to add all that in here. I'm just keeping it simple for today. So why is this so interesting to me? Well, the reason this is so interesting is if we take 400,000 and divide that by $2 million, you can see that's giving us our overall allocation. If we're taking $400,000, I need 20% of the portfolio in safe assets, which means of the whole portfolio, the total, I need 20% to be in bonds, and I want 80%, the rest of the portfolio growing. So here's the hypothetical that I want to show you guys, which is hopefully going to connect the dots for you. If this hypothetically was not an inherited IRA, I'm going to delete this. OMG, what am I doing? I promise I'm doing it for a reason. It's going to connect better for you. I'm going to make your Roth IRA $400,000, okay? If this was your portfolio, call it a Roth IRA, future video, I could do a brokerage account. What I would want to do is I would want to consider moving the Roth IRA, not to be a moderate mix, but 100% equities. Why? I'm not touching that account for a very long time. The 401k, okay, well, maybe the 401k shouldn't be 90% equities. What if that was 80% equities? Because once again, 20% of the portfolio, we need that in super safe assets at a minimum of the whole portfolio. What's 20% of 2 million? 400K. So why am I doing it this way? If we go back to the investment asset allocation, what you can see here is if we look at his 401k, and that's 80% equities, 20% fixed income, and the Roth IRA, which I now just made 100% equities, what we're able to do is start to build out a custom allocation. And this is how I would do it for you guys. When we look at all of the different accounts here, you can see how much is in equities, how much is in bonds, how much is in real estate, and we can get really intentional. Now, the software categorizes things differently. So for example, real estate, this part of the bucket here, this real estate, we can choose how risky we want real estate. For this portfolio, you can see if we're looking at US bonds at 12.6%, international of 3.4%, the remaining real estate, that's technically in a safer asset. So what we're doing is we're categorizing this as safe assets. Don't let that throw you off. So this is really like an 80-20 portfolio. The reason this is so important is we want to remember what did this say at the beginning? It said something very, very similar. The difference is now the Roth IRA is going to grow like crazy. It's going to grow way more, and that's good. We want that to be more volatile. The reason I'm explaining this to you in such a way that really lights me up is for one big reason that I'm going to show you right now to end today's video. So there's a lot in this planning tool that I want to show you. I'm going to reset this to the basics because I was playing around with a lot of stuff earlier. I would want this person to go and say, 100,000 a year? Well, what about if I work part-time? What about inheritance? What about, you name it, vacations or healthcare, or so many different factors here. But just to keep it really simple, here's a couple. They've got $2 million bucks. They're 57. They're currently on track for 5.4 million. Now, maybe they wish that they could retire earlier. And you guys can run these scenarios as well and see, wow, if I retire earlier, there's way less money, but I'm still okay. Maybe I should retire early, which is largely what I talk about on this channel. The reason I'm doing it this way is what are the big levers that are in your control? Well, what's in your control is how long you work, how much you spend, but here's a big one. What if you said, I want a balanced portfolio, and you just switched your asset allocation? Guys, that makes a big difference over your retirement, $2.7 million. What if you said, I have no issues, I want 100% equities throughout my entire retirement? That also makes a big difference the other way. So having the right asset allocation is crucial. I know I've gone over 10 minutes. I get too excited about this. Here's my final story. Okay, it's the last one. Hopefully it resonates. Now, if you're currently listening, watching this video going, hey, this is interesting. I followed most of this. I get you're excited about this stuff, but how does that connect to the taxes and the healthcare and the withdrawal strategy? Well, that's what we do here at Root. So if you're looking for a custom strategy to take you through your retirement without having to feel like you have another job, constantly shifting this based on how markets perform, how much you want to spend, travel, then reach out to us. This is what we love to do. If you just want to play with the tool to get a sense of, okay, am I loosely on track? That's what I recommend for people that are 5 years out from retirement. Now, here's my final story. It's a little bit cringe. Some of you might think it's a little weird. I'm weird. You probably know that already, but it's a fun story. So I was speaking to a couple and they said that their child wanted to talk to me about investing in their 401k. I said, I'm happy to. I do that all the time. They said, well, they're not going to ask you a traditional question. I said, I've heard every question. Don't worry. Let me talk to the kid. They said, okay. And I said, do I have permission to speak freely to your child? Because some clients will say, hey, I want to make sure that, it's not too personal and they're just starting investing. I don't want them to get overwhelmed. Other people go, just give it to them. They need to hear the truth. So I'm a very transparent person. I promise I'm not mean. I feel like most of you know me by now. But the child, and this is true, the child said, Ari, I need your help. I want to put Bitcoin in my 401k. Before I responded, I asked the parents again, is it okay if I speak just transparently to your child? They said, yes, do what you need to do. I said, okay, I need you to shut up. That's what I told the kid. And he goes, oh my gosh, how dare you speak to me that way? I said, look, I promise it's just a silly joke, but here's why I need you to shut up. I need you to max out your 401k. You have $4,000 in there. If you put all your money in Bitcoin and it does really, really well, let's pretend it doubles. Your $4,000 is now worth $8,000. Awesome, right? That's not as important as you saving more money. So you don't need to worry about what return you're getting nearly compared to the weight of you putting more money in. You need to spend less money on some of these silly purchases, and you need to invest more intentionally into this account. Your parents are in the opposite position. If they told me that they wanted to save $30,000 to their 401k, I'd barely smile. Why is that? Well, they already have $2 million. So if they add 30,000, yeah, now they have 2,030,000. But what happens if they get 10% growth? Well, now they have 2,200,000, which means when you have a lot of money, it's way more important to invest the right way. It's obviously ideal to invest the right way along the path. But the truth is too many people are focusing on, do I have the right return? Where do I optimize? So it's a silly little joke. I became friends with the child and they actually thanked me later because I told them that they should be spending more on fun purchases because they were out going crazy on these big purchases with their friends when really we determined that he felt guilty going to the movies and buying popcorn because he was like, I feel like I'm overspending. It was just total lack of connection. So have a good financial strategy. Don't tell your kid to shut up like I did, or if that suits you, feel free to do whatever you want. But I like speaking to my clients in a personal way. This is how we work at Root Financial. Now, we don't just tell everyone to shut up at Root Financial. It's a silly joke, okay? So don't get me in trouble. The reason I bring this up is it's too important to not optimize. If you have retired or you want to retire in the coming years, investing the right way and having that asset allocation is crucial. Now, what did I do wrong here? I'm almost at 20 minutes and I told myself I'd make a 10-minute video. I just love this stuff. So apologies in advance because I went way over. In the future, I'll try to stick to what I say I will at the beginning of the video, but sometimes I just will go off the rails because I'll think of 10 more things I want to tell you and I can't sleep at night if I don't get to tell you. So that's it. Once again, thank you for watching this video. Please like it and share it with others if you find it helpful, and see you next time.